Okay. Good morning, boys and girls. Glad to see you and glad you came to hear the story. Hope you had a wonderful Easter. Lots of eggs and jelly beans and chocolate bunnies. But today we're going to hear a new story, and this one is a pretty serious one. It's about Jesus and the 12. Now, the 12 refers to the disciples. They were his best friends. And we're going to learn about each of them. They were very, very interesting people. When Jesus went to Jerusalem and he knew that his days were few, that he was going to be crucified, he took the 12 disciples with him, and they went to an upper room, and they had their last supper together. And in that meal, they had wine and they had bread, communion. And he told all the disciples, he said, I will always be with you, especially when you have bread and wine and communion. And that is true for us. We know that Jesus will always be with us. Now, he also told them that there was someone in the room that would betray him. And this picture here that you see shows all the disciples, and they're really wondering about that. Is it me? Who is it? Who would betray our wonderful friend Jesus? Well, he tells them, he says, it is Judas. He will betray me. So that night, they went to the Garden of Gethsemane. And his three best friends, who were Matthew and Peter and James, were with him, and they fell asleep 3 times. Had they been able to stay awake, they might have been able to save Jesus, but they fell asleep 3 times. Now I'm going to tell you about each of the disciples because they're really important and we should know about them. First of all, to the right of Jesus is John. And John was probably his best friend. This is not John the Baptist, but this is John, son of Zebedee. And his brother was James. And they were fishermen, and their father was Zebedee. And John wrote the book of John, which is in the New Testament, and he was also called the most beloved. Now, next to him is Peter, right here. I think, yes, Peter. And Peter was always kind of an angry man, but when he met Jesus, he became peaceful. And Peter was one of his closest friends. And Jesus had told him, you are the rock, and I will give you the keys to the kingdom. This is John's shield. And one time, John was about to take a drink from his cup, and someone had put poison in there. Now, we don't know who that is, but a snake came along and drank all the liquid and saved John's life. So this is his shield, and it has a cup and a snake on it. Now, I told you about Peter, and Peter, he's right here. And as you can see, he has the keys to the kingdom, and he has an upside down cross. Now, when Peter was about to be killed, and he was about to be crucified just like Jesus was, but not the same time, his friends came and asked the soldiers, please don't let Peter suffer like Jesus did. Please bury him upside down, and he will not suffer as much. So the soldiers agreed to that, and he was killed. Now we'll go to the next one, who is Judas. And let's see. Here is Judas. He is holding 30 pieces of silver, which the soldiers paid him so that he could tell them which one was Jesus and where he was in the Garden of Gethsemane. He betrayed Jesus, just like Jesus knew he would. And because of that, his shield has no light in it. It is totally blank. Now, let's go on to Matthias. He replaced Judas later on. He's not in this picture, but he has a shield. The sword and the book show how Matthias told the story of Jesus. The book refers to the Bible, and the sword was how he was killed for telling the story of Jesus. On the other side of Jesus, right to his left, is Thomas. He's right there behind James. Now, Thomas always would ask difficult questions, and they called him the Doubting Thomas, which he was. Now, he was a builder, and this is his sword. And they say that he was killed with a spear because he built a church with his own hands. And he also said that Jesus was a king. And they killed him because he tried to tell the story. Now the next one is James, son of Zebedee. And he was the brother of John. They were all fishermen. And because of that, his shield shows 3 shells. He's a fisherman. And he died also telling the story of Jesus. Now we go on to Philip. He's right here. And Philip was one of the people that were with Jesus when he fed the 5,000. And because of that, his shield shows the bread. Symbolizes the bread when they fed the 5,000. And the cross signifies that Philip followed the way of the cross. Now let's go back over to the other side of the picture. And the first one we have is Andrew. And he is right here. He's there. He was Peter's brother. He was a fisherman. And it said that Andrew was killed in Greece on an X-shaped cross like this. And that's why you have the cross on his shield. And he also was killed for telling the story. Now, next to Andrew is James. James the less or the younger. He is right here. And He was a builder, I think. This is his shield. He was younger and smaller, shorter than the other disciples. And the saw, this is a saw. It was a symbol that he was thrown off the temple and stoned. A very tragic death. Now the last one on this side, in the black and dark hair, is Bartholomew. And Bartholomew's shield is 3 knives. He went to India and tried to share the story of Jesus there. And he tried to start Christianity there. And he tried to build a church. But because of that, they killed him with knives. Again, for telling the story of Jesus. Now we can go back over to the other side. And we have Matthew. Right here. Matthew was a tax collector, and he was hated because he took everybody's money. Now, when Matthew met Jesus, Jesus said to him, "Follow me." And Matthew left his job and followed Jesus, and he was one of Jesus's best friends. The 3 bags represent the money that Matthew took as a tax collector. Now, Matthew also wrote the book of Matthew in the New Testament in the Bible. Now the person next to Matthew is Jude, right there. And he was a sailor. He probably wrote the book of Jude, which is in the New Testament. And the sailboat symbolizes his missionary journeys in which he tried to tell the story of Jesus. They all loved Jesus so much, didn't they? Now, our last person is called Simon the Zealot. That's a funny word, isn't it? Zealot. But what it means is that Simon was passionate about people and passionate about the Bible and passionate about Jesus. The fish on the Bible is the symbol of Simon as a fisher of people. And the book symbolizes the gospel. The good news about Jesus. And the early Christians wrote on scrolls about Jesus. Now those are the 12 disciples who became apostles. Once they started to go out into the world and preach the good news of Jesus. And as you heard, many of them suffered very unfortunate deaths and painful deaths. But they loved Jesus so much, they wanted to do that. Now, I wonder, which one of these do you like the best? I don't think I have a favorite, but I think I do like Matthew a lot because I love his book in the Bible. How about you? What is your favorite? Now, I wonder, which one of these disciples do you think is the most important? Oh, that's a tough question. Because they're all important, aren't they? They were all friends of Jesus. Well, you think about it. Maybe there's one that stands out to you as being the most important. Which one is the most like you. I wonder, the most like you. Not necessarily in looks, because none of you look like these men. But maybe your beliefs might be like one of them. And as you see, their dress is very different from the way we dress today, isn't it? But in Jesus' time, this was the way they dressed. And they dressed as if they were going to church. So that is the story of Jesus and the 12. And I thank you so much for coming to listen. And I look forward to seeing you in person, hopefully sometime soon. Stay well and stay away from that COVID.